Hello, this video is for Jupiter conjunctions. This is Jupiter and Sun, but I'm discussing for different ascendants today. I just realized when I was doing the whole long video, it was just taking me a really long time to do this. So, and as this is just like part of one of my, this is my service to the community, astrology community. So I'm going to do them in sections just so that I can save time, really. Okay, so Jupiter and Sun, we discussed that yesterday. It can be quite nice, but it can also, you always got to remember nothing is 100% good, nothing is 100% bad. And sometimes the harder the, the actual chart, the more the person can get out of their life. It's all to do with the mind. It's just all about thinking that everything in the world starts with a thought. That's it, it's a thought. But if you're constantly thinking and not actually initiating anything, you're stuck in that starter point. So you need to initiate things. You need to stop thinking, but actually think and materialize it. Give it some form, give it something tangible, and that's exactly where everything in life has started. So and I honestly, I don't think we realize how amazingly lucky we are to be human beings of humankind. Humans are kind. We are, generally speaking, we are creative, wonderful people, and everybody has something really amazing in their chart. So stop looking at the negative, stop looking at the positive, so you can actually manifest more and more and more. Best of luck with that, and I know you can do it. So let's have a look. I've run sometimes. I do apologize. That's the Sun Jupiter coming out. Okay, so here we have. I had to go back to find this. So for say, for example, for Aries ascendant, Jupiter is a fantastic. Fantastic. Both planets are really good for them, because obviously Sun rules the 5th house, which is a wonderful trinal house, and so there's Jupiter, the 9th house. Even though Jupiter rules the 12th house, but 12th house never ever upsets any form of yogas. So in that case, whenever they are blessed, in this one, for example, it could be in any house, really. I'm not going to be talking that because we'll be talking forever. But generally speaking, say Jupiter and Sun for somebody like for Aries ascendant, like here is ended up in say 11th house. Wow, that is going to be making so much money and wealth, wisdom for this person. But not only that, they can generate that in their community because it's sitting in the 11th house. It's also aspecting the 5th house. So this person can, obviously you always got to be careful, because like here Jupiter is combust. So you want it to be like 12-15 degrees away from the sun to just really get the fruits from it. But generally speaking, though, they work quite well together for certain, certain ascendants or moon signs. But generally, it's really important to just kind of take everything into consideration, because this is great if it falls in any of the angles. 1st, 4th, 7th or 10th will be lovely, because they both rule trinal houses, so that will activate a lot of other things for the person as well. So if this was happening, say in the 5th house in Leo, that would be amazing, because they would be in better situation, because obviously Sun is not friendly to Saturn, and he is sitting in Saturn's sign. And Jupiter is also it's, although it's neutral, but it's again doesn't give them like the energy that it would do if this combination was in Aries, was in Cancer, Leo, or even say, for example, Sagittarius would be absolutely amazing. But obviously the other houses will be slightly more difficult. They'll have some sort of issues to do with it. But As long as it doesn't fall in the 6th house, which is like Virgo, then it should be pretty much okay otherwise. But the stronger their condition, the better it is. So, and actually Sun and Jupiter are friendly with the similar planets, apart from the fact that Sun gets on well with Mercury, but Jupiter is enemies with Mercury. So for this ascendant, it'll be great. So, and obviously if it falls into houses like 12th, 8th or 6th, it's always going to be difficult. But the worst one will probably be the 6th house. With the 3rd house and 10th and 11th house, things will get better with time. But also with 10th house, Sun is going to be strong because it's going to have directional strength. So that will really ease things. Jupiter gets directional strength in the 1st house. And if this combination was in the 1st house, Jupiter would have directional strength, Sun will be exalted. So that will be, wow, amazing. But boy, oh boy, is that going to be like a father that shines though? So it could be quite a lot of expectation of the child too. So, you know, there's always this thing going on, you know. So next ascendant, we have, okay, so for Taurus ascendant, Sun rules a really nice house. Sun rules 4th house, a nice angle. And but it's not friendly to Venus, which rules the ascendant. And Jupiter is a really bad, you know, because it rules 8th and 11th house. So it's actually quite has got that functional malefic thing going on there. So it's not a good planet for them. So Jupiter will make them go through a lot of chops and changes in life to just make them really kind of give them the wisdom that they need. Obviously, what happens with Taurians are quite set in their ways, and so change also will be difficult to them for this ascendant. So it'd be like so it will just constantly be challenges until they learn to go with the flow of life, because they can be a little bit resistant. The moment they learn to go with what life is supposed to be like, they find that changes actually are quite welcome. So, and that those changes can bring them money and gains. So this combination of 4th and 11th house ruler, it could also mean that they could have changes in their home environment, and they could also move countries too, because 4th house, don't forget, is it's not normally like it can be like I mean, obviously there are other things involved, but if it's for these people, because the 11, if say this was here and the 11th house is Pisces, if say for example this was there, then it could actually mean that they actually move abroad and live abroad. But yeah, so they will. This combination will mean that they could have issues, some issues with mum as well, and over time things get better because Jupiter rules the 8th house. It could also mean that there's something about a family secret that they don't know, that kind of thing. And they could also mean that there'll be differences in for example, say in their groups of friends, they will shine amongst them. It'll be lovely. However, it could also be that some of their really close, some of their friends could be their enemies, and they don't know about it because 8th house is secret enemies. So that could be the issue. And this combination, obviously, if it falls in 6th house again, which is Libra, and both, well, Sun will be debilitated there, and Jupiter will be an enemy sign. It'll be very difficult there. And it also it'll be difficult, obviously, if it's in the 8th and 12th house. But the other thing is as well is, like, if it was in the 12th house, Sun is exalted there, so it could just mean that they will just really find their place in life by making that change and moving abroad. It could change for the better, but it's not always thinking that because a planet is exalted it's going to be good. That's not exactly what happens, so bear that in mind. But generally speaking, though, I would probably say Jupiter really spoils anything good there, but they could also get inheritance if say for example Jupiter was strong. say if this situation would happen like in Pisces, own sign for Jupiter, or maybe even actually in, probably I would say more in Pisces, but it can also, that can happen in Leo as well, or even in this sign, you know, Sagittarius, 8th house. But generally speaking, they could actually gain a home from their mum as an inheritance thing. So, but yeah, Jupiter is not a good planet for them. Okay, next ascendant, which is like Gemini ascendant. For Gemini ascendant, obviously, this is, Jupiter is a really good planet. It's rules 7th and 10th house for them, and because also Jupiter is a benefic planet and is ruling angles, it's going to really benefit from being with the Sun. Sun is going to give Jupiter the focus, well, not focus, the inspiration and the motivation to go and get what they want. Imagine if these two were together in Pisces 10th house, then it would just be amazing, because Sun will be in a friendly sign with this, and it'll have directional strength, and Jupiter owns that house. So, and as long as Jupiter is not combust, it'll be absolutely amazing. And that will be lovely, because it will also, Jupiter will be aspecting the 4th house too, which is really wonderful blessing there, and also aspecting the 2nd house. So the whole family and home life will be just blessed with that, really. But obviously, if this falls in the 6th house, that will be in Scorpio. But both of them are actually friendly with Mars. So as long as Mars is in good condition, it should actually help that. But you know, it will be like difficulties before they, you know, they'll have quite a lot of obstacles, ups and downs and everything else, and then they, you know, Sun will help it in that situation, because also Sun rules the 3rd house, which is again an Upachaya house, the same as 6th house. Yeah, but apart from, as long as it doesn't fall in this house, in the 6th house, it should actually be not too bad. You know, it's always better if they fall in the friendly sign. So if they were like in Cancer or in Sagittarius, in Pisces, or even Aries, it'd be much better. Okay, next ascendant. So we're going to go to Cancer. For Cancer ascendant, Jupiter and the Sun. Well, if Jupiter was in the 1st house, would be just absolutely amazing, because it creates fantastic you know, situation, because Jupiter will be having directional strength. That is so important. However, for Cancer ascendants, Jupiter is not a good planet, so it's going to spoil. This is the reason what I just said about directional strength. So it gives them the focus to actually put that wisdom into their life, but they will have some obstacles. It's going to break most of the yogas in early years, but you know, from 36 onwards, once they get the flow of life and go with the flow and just not be kind of, you know, once you become a troubleshooter of your own life, then things will get better for you. But yeah, it's although it's a good one, it can spoil things to do with family, it can spoil things to do with like kind of, you know, you got to really look after your health and stuff like that there. So, but if it's something that one has got to, you know, it's amazing, isn't it? You kind of think, because both planets are very friendly towards Moon, they're going to be okay. But 6th house does spoil yogas, but they start getting fruits from it once they start really kind of negotiate better with life, rather than just like become either victim or aggressive, or, you know, kind of, if the more you kind of think, what was my role in that issue? That is so important in astrology. You know, it's so important to actually like put your hand up and just think, oh, I did that as completely my fault. But once you experience that, you can go through life just like, literally, most of the people who are really successful in life have had failures, you know, like Peter Jones, who does Dragon's Den. I think he has lost many businesses, been bankrupt and everything. I don't like Richard Branson, but yeah, Richard Branson the same. I think the same actually for Elon Musk and people like that. They've had some failures, and I think failures really are really the beginning of success, because you kind of think, okay, so I know what not to do now, and that really makes you really get hold of your life and really live it, you know, with determination. Okay, ascendant, next ascendant, Leo. So for Leo ascendant, Sun and Jupiter, obviously this is going to be lovely because Jupiter rules 8th house. So it means that there is some sudden changes and stuff going on. However, what happens is it rules 5th house, which is a wonderful trinal house. And also obviously Sun rules the 1st house. So it can create wonderful Raj and Dan yogas together. So it can be very successful. It can give high intelligence. And as long as, Jupiter is not really, is not combust, this person can be a fantastic leader, great politician, although there'll be some secrets about them that we won't know because of the 8th house. And yeah, but they can literally, they can be a fantastic advisor, psychologist, psychotherapist, that kind of thing. And they'll be really interested in their cults or something of that nature. But yeah, so, you know, they could be really good, have really good ways, you know. They could be a really great role model for children as well. So that could be really amazing. And they would just like, they would love to just like serve their child, you know. That's amazing. Highly intelligent. Okay, next ascendant. So for Virgo ascendant, Jupiter rules, excuse me, Jupiter rules 4th and 7th house. So for this, obviously two wonderful angles. However, Sun is the 12th house ruler. So it's going to like, there'll be expenses, losses, there'll be some difficulties attached to everything. However, it doesn't break any kind of, so if they do end up like in 5th house or 9th house or 1st house, then there will be some element of, there'll be some grace in that, in a sense, because it'll create Raja yogas. And whenever yogas are formed, then you know that this is going to be just like help them get some elevation, you know, because 12th house can be like the person is a little bit lost. It's a little bit like Pisces being natural 12th house, you know, because it's like, because it's the water sign, it's the last sign of the zodiac. And it's like we're a little bit lost at sea at times with the situation. But once the person has control of everything, as we mature and learn to work with our talents and skills, then things start manifesting. Libra ascendant. Libra ascendant, Jupiter, obviously not a good planet, rules 3rd and 6th house, and is kind of malefic with the enemies to Venus, the ruler of this ascendant. But obviously gets better with time. Both of them upachaya, so they grow better, and we learn to deal with those things. And Sun rules for them 11th house, and so obviously Sun is not a good planet for them because Sun is actually debilitated in the 1st house. So there are going to be like some issues with this, but in the fact that they're both actually kind of malefic in nature to this ascendant, and all the 3 houses are all upachaya, they just go through all this kind of issues with friends. And because obviously Jupiter and Sun is an interesting one as well, because they could also be quite preachy towards their own. They could create this issue where Jupiter can be a little bit too, because it rules the 3rd house falls in Sagittarius, so they can be a little bit like preachy, if you like. So that could also mean that they could lose friends through that, because they would just have a very, very authoritative way of delivering. You know, 3rd house is how you deliver, how you communicate. So they could be quite authoritative, and just like particularly if the Sun is strong, it can be quite egotistical. In fact, it can be the same if the Sun is not strong, if Jupiter is strong. So yeah, so this is an interesting one because both planets are not very good, and but obviously it's going to create some issues between friends. They're going to lose some friends, they're going to make some enemies out of some of their friends. However, with time, it does get so much better. So yeah, and once they learn to be of service, to just like, you don't always have to be right. Sometimes it's okay to be happy. And they learn that, you know, it's not all about being right, because Jupiter always wants to be right, and Sun feeds that ego. Then actually it becomes good. And actually, if this falls in a difficult sign, house, sorry, like for example, if it falls in the 12th house, 8th house, then actually, or even 6th house, it is probably going to be better if it does fall into a difficult house, because it just means that they're going to have to, you know, they actually in the long run, you know, particularly say 6th house ruler is Jupiter, if it falls into the 8th house, then it'll just gives it like a Viprit Raj Yoga as well. So you can actually work out in the end through some obstacles, ups and downs, some difficulties, then the light comes shining through. So, and you know, I'm not against things being difficult. I've had quite a lot of difficult times in my life. And even at the time, that was so hard. You know, in the long run, when things start going smoothly, you sort of think, yeah, I needed to learn that lesson. And it's good to be humble and just eat that humble pie every now and then. It's fine. It's, what can you do? Okay, Scorpio ascendant. So Jupiter is a fantastic planet, 2nd and 5th house ruler, friendly to Mars, ruler of this, and also Sun rules their 10th house. So pretty good, especially if he falls into the 10th house. Amazing. So even if it falls like in the 9th house, Cancer, Jupiter will be exalted, Sun will be like create fantastic Raja Yoga, and it's Hamsa Yoga as well. For Jupiter is so amazing. So this will be really strong if it falls in 2nd house, in 5th house, if it falls in 9th house or 10th house. Amazing, absolutely amazing. This is going to be brilliant. Or even actually in the 1st house, but you know, it is kind of like it gives really good. It'd be good for Jupiter, but you know, it's quite karmic sign, so it's it will be really good in that sense. But hopefully, if Jupiter is not combust by the Sun, so if it's 12-15 degrees away from the Sun, this will be better. But if it falls in any of those signs, it will be amazing. If it falls in Aries, it will be difficult. Even the Sun will be exalted in the 6th house. It does spoil the yogas in a sense, but through, you know, being of service, that's what's going to really get them the results, good results of that, really. And because Sun there will be be exalted, they'll be very good at being a leader, but actually showing that they really care, being a boss, and have that ability not to just shine but do the hard work as well. So but it will spoil anything like that. So but it could make a really, really fantastic teacher, you know. So in the education system will be pretty good, in a litigation will be amazing too. So okay, next one will be Sagittarius. So 1st and 4th house ruler and 9th house ruler Sun. So Jupiter ruling 1st and 4th house, being with the Sun, it will create Raja Yoga and Dan Yoga on its own. So as long as it doesn't fall in Taurus, it should be not not too bad. But obviously, it's good if the Sun doesn't fall in Saturn signs, because that will not work very well for the Sun. It really does weaken the Sun. And but yeah, it's going to be pretty good, particularly if it's in the 1st house, in the 4th house, and in the 9th house. It could also work quite well if it's in the 10th house Virgo, even though Jupiter is not really happy there. But what will happen is Jupiter from there will aspect the 4th house Pisces, and that will really make it really look after the 4th house. Sun will have directional strength in Virgo, being the 10th house, and it's also 9th house ruler in the 10th house. So that will be a fantastic yoga in that sense. Yeah, so in those houses will be really good. As I said, I don't really particularly like the yogas in the 6th house. It does spoil things, and the person has got to really work so hard to get any results, and they will happen later in life. Nothing wrong with that though. sometimes some of us, we have to, some of the lessons of life are that way. Okay, so for Capricorn ascendant, so this will be so 3rd and 12th house ruler Jupiter, so not a very good planet. And the sun is 8th house ruler. So this is not going to be great, but because they're difficult planets anyway for this ascendant, actually, if they're together, it really helps. And it really helps if they're in the 12th house, in the 3rd house, in the even in the 6th house will be good. Reason why? Because Jupiter already rules the 3rd house. And if they go into the 6th house, Sun will create a Viparit Raj Yoga. So through difficulties and mayhem and chaos in life, sudden changes, they could really they could polish that rock into a diamond. So that will be the case, but it will be through some difficulties, some learnings through life, some humble pie, some, and they learn to troubleshoot and really get themselves organized to deal with things to do with life. Makes them much braver too. And then we have next one, Aquarius ascendant. So if they have, so for Aquarius, obviously Sun rules 7th house. That's nice, strong one. And then also 2nd and 11th house ruler Jupiter. So Jupiter is actually a good planet for this. It's a money-making planet for this ascendant. And so it brings together like if this happens in like a trinal house in the 1st, 5th or 9th house, it will be amazing because it will just like create money and also create like wonderful things for the marriage, partnerships, and that kind of thing, home environment. So yeah, it would be amazing. I mean, if it falls like for example, if it falls obviously in this one you can see Sun is in the 1st house, so 1st house, 7th house ruler in the 1st house. So that creates a Raja Yoga. Jupiter rules obviously 2nd and 11th house. So that is creating a nice Raja and Dana Yoga there. You really want to make sure that these two planets, Jupiter is like 12 to 15 degrees away from the Sun, because this is combust. So it's not going to give good results really. But if this is happening, say within a few degrees of each other, and also if it is this is occurring in really sort of like in say Pisces 2nd house, even 3rd house, because Sun will be exalted there. That's quite nice. And obviously nice if it falls into Leo, but Sun will lose its directional strength because it'll be 7th house ruler in the 7th house. Sun is not very good in the 7th house. Actually, neither is Jupiter, because Jupiter can become more about other people and less about the family. So actually, let's take that away. So it's going to be good in Pisces and also Aries. It will be really quite good also in the 10th house, Scorpio, and also in the 11th house, which is Sagittarius. Those are the houses that will be really good. It will be difficult in Cancer, even though Jupiter will be exalted there. Reason being is because 6th house, and it's going to break all the good yogas until the person is quite much older, and then we've had the lessons of that issue. Okay, so then Pisces ascendant. So Pisces ascendant, if Jupiter and the Sun, because Sun is not a good planet for this ascendant, rules 6th house. And Jupiter obviously rules 1st and 10th house. So that the actual job will be something to do with like being a doctor, medic, nurse, a paramedic, maybe even if it falls like, say, in some houses to do with Mars. But generally speaking, or Mars's aspect, generally speaking though, there is going to be some issues, but it's very much like to do with service really, because the work will be about service and looking after other people, emergencies, litigation, law, that kind of thing will be great. So yeah, in that sense will be good. And but otherwise, because it breaks the things, unless if it goes into, say for example, if it goes into like for example, if it goes into the 12th house, it might be better because Sun is also aspecting the 6th house, protecting the 6th house. but it'd be difficult for the job. So, but it will be like working in a hospital, really, because Jupiter rules like 10th house if it's in, you know, but there will be obviously difficulties. So this, I would say, probably is least of all of them. Yeah, all the signs, probably the more difficult ones, really, because Sun is going to spoil the and because it rules the first house, that's probably why it's going to be a bit more difficult. Anyway, that's it from me today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.